Hi, you're on the Reddit Confessions channel. The call came in at 9:42 p.m., but the screaming started before I could even say hello. Where are you with my gift? That's how this all began. Not with a kind reminder, not with I miss you, not even with fake sweetness. Just that shriek through my phone that made my stomach tighten and my jaw lock. I wasn't lost. I wasn't late. I was exactly where I needed to be. Alone, sitting in my rusted-out Buick outside a closed-down diner in Tall Pines, holding a slice of gas station pie, and thinking about the last time I felt like a man in my own marriage. Darla's birthday, a sacred holiday in her eyes. A day when the entire world was supposed to pause and worship the ground she walked on. But this year, for the first time in 9 years, I did something unthinkable. I didn't show up. No flowers, no shiny bags, no glittery card with a pre-written poem. I don't mean I skipped it. You need to understand, I'm not the kind of guy who skips birthdays. I used to spend weeks planning hers. Once I drove 6 hours just to get a specific perfume from a boutique in Asheville because she mentioned it once while half asleep. Another time I sold my vintage guitar to cover a weekend spa retreat she posted about on Instagram. And what did I get in return? One year she forgot mine completely. Didn't even look up from her phone when I walked in. "Oh, was that today?" she muttered, chewing the side of her lip while texting someone whose name I've never learned. So this year I sat it out. That's when the call came, and I told her in a voice more tired than angry, "Your gift is where your respect for me is. In the trash." Click. That sound, the deadline, was more satisfying than any applause I've ever gotten in my life. But it didn't stop there. Not even close. Because 5 minutes later, I got a message from her best friend, Natalie. "You're going to regret this." That was it. No context, no emojis. Just those 5 words. Now here's the thing. Natalie was never just a friend. She was Darla's mouthpiece, her fixer, her cleaner. Every time something shady happened, Natalie was the one who smoothed it over. So that text, that was a threat. And threats mean someone's hiding something. So I started looking. Not through her phone. She had it locked tighter than Fort Knox. But through the details, the forgotten receipts in her coat pocket, the Uber trip history on the shared tablet, the strange charge from Midnight Sweets on our joint card 3 weeks ago, when she said she was helping her aunt move. And that's when the pie dropped into my lap. And I realized something no husband ever wants to admit. My wife wasn't just selfish. She was unfaithful. The woman I'd been breaking my back for was breaking vows behind mine. But trust me, this is just the beginning. What I uncovered next didn't just confirm the betrayal, it burned everything down. She posted a boomerang on her birthday, champagne flute in hand, gold balloons behind her, blowing a kiss to the camera like she was on the cover of some lifestyle blog. Caption, "Feeling so loved. Birthday Queen." I watched it in my parked car. Engine off. Thumb hovering over the screen. There was no mention of me. Not that I expected one. But here's the catch. I knew that balcony. I'd been there twice, and not with Darla. The first time was for my coworker Emit's engagement party. The second time was worse. The Midnight Sweets receipt I found in her coat pocket had that address. That was 3 weeks ago. The same day she said she was helping her aunt move into assisted living. A 6-hour job, apparently. No pictures, no confirmation, no thanks from the aunt. Just Darla coming home exhausted, makeup smudged, phone clutched tight like a secret. So when I saw her birthday post from that same spot, that expensive hotel's rooftop bar, it clicked. This wasn't her party. This was his. Someone brought her there. Someone paid. Someone who wasn't me. I didn't rage. I didn't scream or throw my phone. That would have made me feel too alive, and I hadn't felt that in years. Instead, I stared at the screen like it was a puzzle I had finally solved. All the missing pieces, the fake errands, the sudden gym obsession, the 2 a.m., I couldn't sleep so I went for a drive, excuses. They all fell into place. It was never about the gift. It was about control, about keeping me on a leash while she built a whole other life behind my back. I went home. She wasn't there. I already knew she wouldn't be. Her perfume still lingered in the bedroom like a ghost. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the dresser drawer she told me never to open. I opened it. Inside, a second phone, not a burner. It was sleek, expensive, better than mine. No passcode. Either she was careless or cocky. I tapped it on. No text history, no call logs. But the photos, she'd forgotten the photos. There she was, Darla, standing in front of the same gold balloons from tonight's post. But in this one, she wasn't alone. He had his arms wrapped around her waist, his lips pressed against her temple. She looked genuinely happy. Not posed, not performative. Just comfortable. It gutted me. And I still don't know what broke me more. The intimacy of that picture or the fact that she never looked at me like that. Not once. Not in all 9 years. I put the phone back, sat on the couch, and let the silence wrap around me like a shroud. But one thing had changed. I wasn't confused anymore. I knew now. The only question left was, how far had it gone, and what the hell was I going to do about it? I stared at that photo on the hidden phone for a long time. His face was unfamiliar. Square jaw, 2 white teeth, the kind of guy who looks like he says, "Trust me" a lot, and means the opposite. He wasn't just holding Darla. He was claiming her, like she was something he'd won, and she leaned into it. I tried to tell myself it was old, that it was from before, but the timestamp said otherwise. 2 nights ago. That same night, she told me she was working late at the design studio, that she had to catch up on client mock-ups, that her phone died because she was just swamped. I actually felt bad for questioning her then. I don't feel bad now. I didn't sleep that night. My eyes stayed open while the walls closed in. At one point, I went downstairs just to move. I ended up in the kitchen staring at the sink full of dishes she said she'd washed 3 days ago. On impulse, I opened the trash can. It was stupid. Who checks the trash? But there it was, a receipt from a high-end jewelry store downtown. I blinked at it like it might disappear if I looked too long. 2 items listed. One was a silver charm bracelet. The other made my blood run cold. Men's platinum band. Size 11. I wear a size 9. I hadn't bought her jewelry since our 6th anniversary. She said back then, "You really don't get my taste." I took the hint. So who was the ring for? And why was she throwing away the receipt at our house? I took the slip upstairs, slipped it between the pages of an old notebook she never touched, and sat on the edge of the bed again. The air felt thick, heavy, like if I breathed too hard it would all collapse. That's when I made my mistake. I texted her. Just one line. "Who's the ring for?" Darla read. No reply. 10 minutes later, the front door opened so hard it slammed against the wall. She stood there, eyes sharp, mouth curled like she smelled something awful, and hissed, "What the hell were you doing in my drawer?" I didn't answer, just stood up slowly, holding the receipt between 2 fingers. "You were going to throw this away and act like nothing happened?" She snatched it, crumpled it, and said, "It's none of your business. None of my, I'm your husband." "No, Alton," she said, voice ice cold. "You're a mistake I haven't corrected yet." That sentence cracked something in me. Not because it was loud, but because it was so casual, like telling someone the milk expired. No guilt, no panic, just pure dismissal. She stormed into the bathroom and slammed the door. I heard the shower start, water running like she could wash the whole confrontation down the drain. And me. I sat back down, knowing that the next part wouldn't be a confrontation, it would be exposure. Because if she thought I was done digging, she had no idea who she married. It was around 3 a.m. when the bathroom light finally flicked off. Darla came out wrapped in a towel, face blank, hair dripping onto the carpet like it owed her something. She didn't say a word to me, just climbed into bed, back turned and mumbled, "You're being ridiculous." She was always good at flipping the script, making me feel guilty for things I didn't do, distracted enough to stop asking questions about what she was doing. But this time, I didn't let it slide. I waited until her breathing steadied, slow and even. Then I got up, not out of anger, but because something had shifted. I wasn't scared of her anymore. I wasn't confused. I was determined. I pulled the second phone from the drawer again. I had about 20 minutes before she usually turned over in her sleep. No texts were saved, but the gallery had a hidden folder. I almost missed it. A dumb folder labeled quotes. Inside were screenshots. Most were cropped tight, blurry chats filled with emojis, inside jokes, and pet names that made my stomach churn. One in particular stuck with me. It was a message bubble from someone saved as R saying, "You're not wearing that ring when you're with me, right?" And her reply, "Of course not. I'm not his anymore." That wasn't just betrayal. That was erasure. The date on that message, 2 weeks ago, the same day I gave her money to cover the vet bill for her sister's cat. And here I thought I was being supportive. But then something stranger happened. Among the screenshots, I found one that wasn't meant for him. It was meant for someone else entirely. A photo of me from behind, standing in our backyard. The caption underneath, "He still doesn't have a clue." How sad is that? It wasn't even sent, just saved like a trophy. She had been documenting me. Not lovingly, not even mockingly, just coldly, like I was a ghost she couldn't shake. A leftover from a past she was embarrassed she ever chose. And yet she still lived under my roof, ate the meals I made, let me do her laundry, slept in the bed I bought. I should have been furious. I should have screamed, cursed, shattered something. But instead, I stood there with the phone in my hands and whispered to myself, she already left. She just never packed. I backed out of the gallery, shut the phone off, and placed it back exactly where I found it. I didn't wake her. I didn't say a word. But I did do one thing that night. Something small, something quiet, something that would set everything into motion. I removed her from our joint account, and the next morning, she woke up to a different kind of surprise. The scream echoed from the kitchen. I was still upstairs brushing my teeth when it came. Sharp, panicked, and not even a little bit dignified. For a second, I thought she dropped a pan or saw a spider. But then came the second scream. "What did you do?" I didn't rush down. I moved slowly, wiping my face with a towel, grabbing a clean shirt. She stormed into the hallway before I even hit the stairs, waving her phone like it had personally insulted her. "You emptied the account," she yelled, cheeks red, eyes wide, mascara still smeared from the night before. "I didn't empty it," I said calmly. "I removed myself from it." "Don't play smart with me, Alton. Where is the money?" She meant the shared account we used for bills, except she hadn't used it for bills in months. I had started noticing strange charges. Boutique stores, out-of-state restaurants, 2 payments to something listed as executive transport. She once claimed it was for her cousin's wedding. She doesn't have a cousin. So no, I didn't drain the account. I simply opened a new one, moved my direct deposit there, and paid off what I could. She had left me financially exposed long enough. "You don't get to do this," she said through gritted teeth. "I have expenses." "No, you have secrets," I replied. "I just stopped funding them." She stared at me like I'd slapped her. Then, without warning, she hurled her coffee mug at the wall behind me. It exploded into ceramic shrapnel and she shouted, "You're ruining everything." I didn't flinch. "You already did that," I said, quieter than she expected. She stood there, chest heaving, trying to find the right insult. But for once, she came up empty. She spun around, stormed out the front door, and peeled out of the driveway like she was escaping something. I just stood there in the silence she left behind. For the first time in a long time, it felt good. But I wasn't done. Later that day, while she was out doing whatever it was she did when she wasn't pretending to be married, I packed a small bag. Not to leave, not yet, but to stay somewhere nearby. A motel on the edge of town where no one knew me. I needed space, time, a place where my thoughts didn't echo off the walls that had heard too many lies. Before I walked out, I left a note on the table. Just one sentence. "If you want answers, start with the second phone." No signature, no apology. She wanted to act like I didn't exist? Fine. Let her find out what that really feels like. I didn't sleep much at the motel, but I didn't need to. The air was thin and cold, and the silence was loud, the kind that buzzes in your ears when you finally stepped outside of madness. I lay there on the scratchy sheets, fully clothed, replaying the moment she'd find my note. "If you want answers, start with the second phone." I pictured it perfectly. Her standing in the kitchen, still fuming about the missing money, brushing past my note like it didn't matter, only to come back to it, unable to resist. And when she opened that drawer, expecting to find her little secret waiting safely for her, she'd find nothing. Because I took the phone with me. I didn't power it on. I didn't need to. I already knew enough. But I wanted her to panic, to unravel. I wanted to know what she'd do when she realized I wasn't a fool anymore. At 11:12 a.m., I got my answer. My phone buzzed, 10 missed calls, 5 voicemails, and then a single text. Give it back now. No greeting, no remorse, no apology. Just that demand, like she still had a throne to sit on. I didn't reply. 5 minutes later, another text came in, this time from an unknown number. If you don't want this to get legal, we suggest you return the property. I stared at that word like it was dipped in acid. So she wasn't just cheating. She was calling in reinforcements. Maybe him, maybe a lawyer, maybe someone else entirely. Either way, it meant one thing. The second phone held something more dangerous than she expected me to see, and I wasn't done looking. I turned the phone back on for the first time since leaving the house. It was fully charged. She must have kept it powered and hidden like a burner. I had already seen the photo gallery, the screenshots, and the messages from R, but now I checked the apps. She had encrypted chat software, the kind you have to sideload manually. It didn't show notifications. No visible icon, hidden behind a calculator app. She really thought she was clever. I opened it. No password. The messages inside weren't just personal. They were financial. There were conversations about transferring money, hiding assets, even selling the vintage desk from my late father's workshop. She wrote, "He's too soft to notice. He thinks I'm redecorating. Let him be." I gripped the phone so tightly I heard the plastic creak. They had been bleeding me slowly, emotionally, financially, and now materially. But the worst part was, she was right. I had let it happen. I had swallowed every insult, paid every bill, and blamed myself every time she rolled her eyes like I was some embarrassing mistake. Until now. I turned off the phone, zipped it back into my coat pocket, and stared at the ceiling of the motel room like it held a message just for me. I didn't want revenge. I wanted truth, proof, closure, and I was finally holding all three in my hand. What came next would hurt, but I had a plan. I left the motel that afternoon without checking out. I figured she'd track me down eventually, and I didn't want to be there when she did. I wasn't running anymore. I was baiting the trap. Before heading back to the house, I did something I never thought I'd have the guts for. I forwarded everything on her secret phone to my email. Screenshots, text logs, the gallery, even the files in the encrypted folder marked work. It wasn't about blackmail. It was about truth insurance. Because when someone's been lying that much, they're not going to let you walk away clean, especially when their fantasy life starts crashing down. And I hadn't even hit her with the big one yet. I had one more card to play, and it was petty. I'll admit that. But it was also brilliant. See, the guy she was texting, the one she was planning spa weekends and getaway flights with, he wasn't single. I had found his profile full of beach selfies with his queen, pictures of their dog, his car, his gym progress. And tucked between them all was a sweet anniversary post from his girlfriend of 6 years. I found her number through a payment app. That's the thing about these cheaters. They're sloppy when they're smug. So I sent her a message. No threats, no drama, just one photo. Darla and her boyfriend on that hotel rooftop, her hands on his chest, his lips grazing her neck. I didn't sign it. I didn't have to. 3 hours later, Darla was blowing up my phone. The first message read, "You went too far." The second, "You ruined everything." And the third, "He left. Are you happy now?" I wasn't, but I wasn't sorry either. By the time I pulled into the driveway, the front door was open. She was sitting on the couch, makeup streaked, hair wild, bottle of wine half empty on the floor. She looked at me like I was the villain in a movie she didn't realize she was starring in. "You destroyed my life," she said. "No," I replied, dropping her second phone on the coffee table. "You handed me the match. I just lit it." She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She didn't apologize. She just asked one question. "Why didn't you leave quietly?" That's when I laughed. "Because you don't get to set the terms anymore. You're not the queen of this house. You're just the reason it fell apart." Then I dropped the final truth on her, the one she never saw coming. I filed last week. Papers are signed. The lawyer has them. And this house. My name's the only one on the title. You'll be moving out. Her face collapsed. No witty comeback. No fake confidence. Just silence. The kind she used to weaponize. Now it was mine. But it wasn't over yet. Because there was still one last thing I needed to tell her. Something that would make everything click. She stood in the middle of our living room, shaking, mascara still smudged from whatever meltdown she'd had while I was gone. Her mouth open like she was going to launch into another speech. Another one of those guilt-laced monologues she'd rehearsed 100 times. But I was done playing the audience. I held up a small box. Not a ring, not anything fancy. Just a plain square box wrapped in a paper grocery bag. "What's this?" she snapped, arms folded. "Your gift," I said. She scoffed but tore it open anyway, maybe thinking I was about to beg for a fresh start. What she found inside stopped her cold. A printed copy of her texts, her photos, the bank receipts, and right beneath that, a single-page notice from my lawyer confirming the finalized filing. "No need for you to act confused anymore," I said. "Now everything's out in the open." She looked like she was about to collapse. "You can't do this. I'll fight it. You won't," I interrupted, "because you know I have more than enough. And honestly, I don't care to drag this through court. You wanted freedom. You've got it." She stood there trembling, like the air had gone too still around her. For the first time, she looked small. Not the loud, overconfident version of herself she used to weaponize. Just lost. And I didn't feel sorry. Not anymore. The next morning, she packed her things quietly. No yelling, no manipulation. Just bags and silence. When she left, she didn't even say goodbye. And that was fine. That was perfect. A week later, I was sitting on the back porch drinking a cheap beer, watching the sun hit the fence she always said was too plain. I liked it. It was quiet. It was mine. The peace felt strange at first, like I was waiting for another storm. But day after day, it never came. The silence, it turned out, was healing, not haunting. And now I smile more. I sleep better. I don't check receipts anymore. I met someone new at the farmer's market last Sunday. Her name's Miriam. We talked for 20 minutes about sourdough. I don't know where it'll go, and for once, I'm not in a rush. I'm just grateful to feel like a human again. Not a wallet, not a backup plan, just a person. Darla once told me I was too soft to make a move. Guess she was wrong, because in the end, the gift I gave her, the truth, the exposure, the exit, turned out to be the greatest gift I ever gave myself too. What would you have done if you found a secret phone, a secret lover, and years of deception all in 1 week? Share the wildest thing you've ever uncovered in a relationship in the comments. Someone out there needs to hear it. Subscribe and follow Reddit Confessions for more stories that hit where it hurts, and sometimes where healing begins.